The massive alien ship hung in Earth's orbit like a shining diamond, its crystalline surface reflecting the sun's rays in beautiful patterns. Inside, Ambassador Blue stood before the ship's main viewport, his four arms trembling as he stared at the blue planet below. The planet's readings made no sense to him. "This can't be correct," he whispered, his pale skin turning even whiter. "The gravity is crushing, the atmosphere is corrosive, and the temperature variations are lethal. How can anything live down there?" Behind him, the ship's science officer, Green, double-checked the readings for the 10th time. "It's accurate, Ambassador. This is a Class 12 death world. The surprising part is that we're detecting advanced technology. There must be some mistake." The Galactic Council had sent their best first contact team to this newly discovered world, expecting to find simple organisms barely clinging to life. Instead, they found cities, satellites, and clear signs of an advanced civilization. "We have to make contact," Ambassador Blue decided, though his heart raced at the thought. "Send the greeting signal." Within hours, they received a response. A human voice, speaking in perfect galactic standard thanks to their translation matrix, invited them to land at a place called the United Earth Spaceport. The landing was terrifying. As their ship descended through the atmosphere, the whole crew wore their highest-grade protection suits. The crushing gravity made every movement difficult, and the oxygen-nitrogen mix in the air was something out of their nightmares. They were not prepared for what waited outside. Captain Tom Walker stood at the landing pad, wearing nothing but what he called a formal uniform. No protection suit, no breathing apparatus. He was just standing there, in the open air, smiling. "Welcome to Earth," he said, walking forward with an extended hand. "I hope your journey was comfortable." Ambassador Blue stared in shock through his suit's visor. How are you surviving?" Tom laughed, a sound that made several alien crew members jump. "This is our home. We were born here. Would you like to come inside? We have a climate-controlled room set up for your comfort." The aliens followed him into a building, where they were led to a special chamber. Once inside, the pressure and atmosphere were adjusted to their normal levels, allowing them to remove their suits. As they sat around a large table, a human assistant entered with refreshments. The assistant placed glasses of clear liquid in front of everyone. Ambassador Blue's scanner went crazy. "Is that water?" he asked in horror. "Pure dihydrogen monoxide." "Yes," Tom replied, taking a long drink from his glass. "Would you prefer something else? Coffee, perhaps, or tea?" The aliens watched in terror as he consumed the universal solvent as if it were nothing. Their own drinks were a safe mineral solution that wouldn't dissolve their internal organs. "Captain Walker," Ambassador Blue said carefully, "I don't mean to be rude, but how is your species still alive? Everything about your world should be lethal. The gravity alone should crush your bones. The temperature swings should kill you. The oxygen levels should be toxic." Tom smiled again, leaning back in his chair. "What you call harsh, we call home. This gravity keeps our bones strong. Our bodies adapt to temperature changes. And oxygen. We need it to live. In fact," he chuckled, "we've had to engineer this room to reduce the oxygen levels for your comfort." The aliens exchanged worried looks. They had come expecting to find primitive creatures. Instead, they found beings who not only survived in lethal conditions, but thrived in them. Beings who drank corrosive substances for pleasure and breathed toxic gas to live. As the meeting continued, Ambassador Blue made a mental note to update Earth's classification. This wasn't just a death world. This was the home of something far more remarkable, and perhaps far more dangerous, than they had ever encountered. The first contact was going well, but one question burned in every alien's mind. What kind of species could evolve in such a hostile environment? And what other surprises did these humans have in store for the galaxy? News of Earth's first contact spread quickly through the galaxy. While Ambassador Blue prepared his report for the Galactic Council, another group watched the events with growing concern. In their crystal tower on the capital world of the Mindweb Collective, the High Council gathered to discuss these strange new beings called humans. Impossible, Lord Red declared, his crystalline body glowing with anger. No intelligent life can evolve on a Class 12 death world. These humans must be lying about their origins. The other council members buzzed in agreement. They had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years, seeing themselves as the most advanced species. The idea that primitive beings from a deadly planet could achieve space travel troubled them deeply. "We must test them," Lady Crystal suggested, her form shimmering. "If they truly evolved on this Earth, let them prove it in the Galactic Games." The games were famous across the galaxy. Every 10 years, species from all worlds competed to show their strength and skill. No one from a world higher than Class 8 had ever survived the challenges. Back on Earth, Captain Tom Walker received the Mindweb Collective's message during a meeting with Ambassador Blue. "They want us to compete in games," Tom asked, reading the challenge. "That doesn't sound so bad." Ambassador Blue's color faded to a pale gray. "Captain, you don't understand. The Galactic Games are designed to test the limits of all species. Many competitors don't survive." Tom grinned. "Even better. When do we start?" The ambassador watched in confusion as Tom called a woman named Maria Reed into the room. She was the head of Earth's Olympic Committee and one of their best athletes. "They're challenging us to Space Olympics," Tom explained to her. "Want to show them what humans can do." Maria's eyes lit up with excitement. "Real alien sports? Count me in. What's the worst that could happen?" Ambassador Blue tried to explain the dangers. "The gravity chambers alone have killed Class 10 species. The endurance trials last for days. The strength tests—" "Days?" Maria interrupted, looking disappointed. "That's it. I was hoping for a real challenge. I've run multiple ultramarathons back to back." The ambassador's translator must have malfunctioned. "Ultra-marathon? Yeah, you know, running really long distances for fun. My best time for 100 miles was." Ambassador Blue stopped listening. These humans ran long distances, for fun, on their death trap of a planet. He sent an urgent message to the Galactic Council, warning them about what they might witness. The Mindweb Collective, however, remained confident. They prepared their most difficult challenges, certain these primitive humans would fail. They even invited media from all species to watch. "Your people have 1 month to prepare," Lord Red's hologram announced to Tom. "We suggest you choose your competitors carefully. We would hate to be responsible for any unfortunate accidents." Tom and Maria exchanged looks and tried not to laugh. They had both seen the list of challenges: tests of strength in high gravity, endurance trials in extreme temperatures, survival challenges in toxic atmospheres. To the aliens, these were deadly trials. To humans, they sounded like a typical training week. "We accept your challenge," Tom replied formally. "Earth will send its team to compete." As the hologram faded, Maria was already making calls. "Get me the best runners, swimmers, and climbers we have. And tell them to bring their game faces. We're about to show the galaxy what humans can do." Ambassador Blue watched them prepare with growing amazement. The humans weren't afraid. They were excited. They treated deadly challenges like a fun game. For the first time, he wondered if the Mindweb Collective had made a terrible mistake in challenging these Deathworlders. The games were about to change forever, and no one in the galaxy was prepared for what was coming. The Galactic Training Center was a massive structure floating in space, designed to prepare athletes from all species for the games. When the human team arrived, the alien staff immediately began modifying a section to match Earth's extreme conditions. Maria Reed led her team of 20 humans through the entrance, all of them wearing simple exercise clothes. Behind them, dozens of aliens in protective suits watched nervously. "Your training area is ready," the facility director announced through a speaker. "We've recreated your world's brutal conditions. Please be careful." The humans walked into their designated zone and looked around in confusion. Maria checked the environmental readings on the wall. Is something wrong? The director asked anxiously. Yeah, Maria replied. You've set everything too low. This gravity is only about 70% of Earth's normal level. And where's the temperature variation? The entire control room fell silent. One brave technician spoke up. You want it harder. Of course. How can we train properly in these soft conditions? The aliens watched in horror as the humans casually requested environmental settings that would kill most species in the galaxy. But the real shock came during the first training session. Maria started the team with a simple warm-up, 50 laps around the training zone, followed by body weight exercises. The alien observers were stunned. Their scientists frantically checked their instruments, sure there must be some mistake. They'd been running for 2 hours, one alien whispered, without stopping. And they're sweating. Ambassador Blue, who had stayed to watch, tried to explain. It's how they cool themselves. They can just keep going. The next shock came during combat training. 2 human athletes were sparring when one took a hard fall. The alien medics rushed in, expecting severe injuries. Instead, the human stood up, laughed, and continued fighting. How is that possible? The head medic demanded. We saw the bone bend. Oh, you mean the impact? Maria said casually. Yeah, human bones can flex a bit. They're designed to absorb shock, plus we heal pretty fast. The alien medical team spent the next several hours learning about human healing abilities, becoming more horrified with each new discovery. In the observation room, the facility director watched the training footage with growing concern. He sent an urgent message to the Mindwood Collective. Warning! Human capabilities exceed all predictions. Examples. They heal from injuries in days that would take others months. They continue functioning with broken bones. They voluntarily raise temperature and gravity to dangerous levels. They show no signs of fatigue after extended physical activity. They appear to enjoy pain. The response from the collective was dismissive. Impossible. Continue monitoring. They must have technological assistance. But as the days passed, the evidence became undeniable. The humans weren't using any technology. This was just how they were. The most disturbing incident came during endurance training. The environmental controls malfunctioned, causing the temperature to spike. The emergency teams rushed to evacuate the area, only to find the humans doing push-ups in conditions that would melt some species. Should we stop? Maria asked, seeing the panicked aliens. We can handle much worse than this. That evening, Ambassador Blue overheard 2 facility staff members talking. Did you see them today? One asked. They were laughing. In conditions that would kill us instantly. I heard they sleep for hours every day, lying completely unconscious, and they do it for fun. Stars help us all. What kind of universe creates creatures like this? In their private quarters, the human team was having a very different conversation. I think we're scaring them, Tom told Maria. She shrugged while lifting weights that had been designated as maximum load for Class 8 species. Wait until they see what we can really do. This is just the warm-up. As the humans continued their training, word spread through the galaxy. The games were approaching, and for the first time in history, the galaxy would witness what beings from a Class 12 death world could really do. The opening ceremony of the Galactic Games looked like something from a dream. Thousands of beings from hundreds of worlds filled the massive space station's arena. Each species stayed in their own carefully controlled environmental bubbles, watching through special screens that adjusted the light to their visible spectrum. The human team walked in last. Unlike the other competitors in their protective suits, the humans wore simple athletic uniforms with Earth written across the back. The crowd fell silent at this shocking display. Where are their environmental suits? The question rippled through the arena. They're going to die, someone shouted. Maria Reed, leading the human team, just smiled and waved. Behind her, the rest of the team looked around with interest at all the alien species. One human athlete even took pictures with his phone, making several nearby species flinch at the casual use of technology in the open atmosphere. Lord Red of the Mindwood Collective stood to announce the first event. The Gravity Gauntlet will begin in 1 hour. All species must complete the obstacle course. The gravity will increase with each section. The alien athletes began their careful preparation rituals. They checked their protective suits, calibrated their gravity compensators, and meditated to prepare their bodies for the strain. The humans got coffee from their break room. "Shouldn't you be preparing?" Ambassador Blue asked Tom nervously. "We are," Tom replied, sipping his drink. "This is how humans prepare. We call it caffeine loading." The Gravity Gauntlet was designed to test the limits of every species. It started at standard gravity and increased gradually. The course included climbing walls, jumping over pits, and carrying heavy objects. Most species dropped out when the gravity reached twice their homeworld's level. Their suits couldn't compensate enough, and the strain was too much. Then came the humans' turn. Maria stepped up to the starting line. The judges increased the gravity to match Earth's level as a handicap. She laughed. "Could you turn it up a bit more?" she asked. "This feels too light." The judges stared in disbelief but complied. Maria began the course, moving with ease through obstacles that had exhausted other competitors. When she reached the climbing wall, instead of using the safety ropes, she free climbed it. "This is amazing," she called out. "It's like our rock climbing gym back home." The alien audience watched in horror as she completed the entire course without stopping. When she finished, her heart rate was elevated, but she wasn't even breathing hard. "That was fun," she said. "When's the next event?" The other human athletes performed similarly, treating lethal challenges like a casual workout. They competed in multiple events back-to-back, something no other species had ever attempted. During the strength trials, a human athlete named Jack broke the course record while explaining to the judges that he wasn't really a powerlifter, and this was just his warm-up weight. The Mindweb Collective members watched with growing concern. Lord Red's crystal form had developed several stress fractures. "They're not using any technology," one observer reported. "We've scanned them thoroughly. This is their natural state." In the stands, alien scientists frantically took notes. Some species began quietly withdrawing from events when they learned humans were competing in them. The most shocking moment came during the endurance race. While other species carefully paced themselves, taking scheduled breaks in their environmental suits, the humans jogged steadily for hours, talking and laughing among themselves. "How long can they keep going?" one judge asked Ambassador Blue. "I don't know," he admitted. "The longest human races on Earth last for days. Some of them do it for fun." By the end of the first day, the scoring system had to be redesigned. The humans hadn't just broken records. They had shattered the very concept of what was possible in the games. Lord Red called an emergency meeting of the collective. Something had to be done about these humans. They were making the galaxy's most challenging competition look like a children's playground. The third day of the Galactic Games started normally enough. The human team was dominating every event, breaking records that had stood for centuries. The Mindweb Collective's members watched from their private booth, their crystalline forms clouded with worry. "This can't continue," Lord Red hissed to his advisors. "These humans are making us look weak. Initiate Protocol Dark Star." In the arena below, Maria Reed was preparing for the high-gravity wrestling event when the first warning lights started flashing. The massive space station's environmental systems began to fluctuate wildly. "Emergency, emergency," the station's AI announced. "Environmental control failure detected. All species return to your designated safe zones immediately." Panic erupted in the arena. Different sections of the station began experiencing rapid changes in temperature, pressure, and atmospheric composition. For most species, these changes meant instant death without protection. The alien athletes ran for their environmental shelters, their protective suits barely holding up against the chaos. But many were too far from safety. That's when the humans showed what they could really do. "Tom," Maria shouted above the noise. "East section. I'll take west." The human team sprang into action without hesitation. While other species fled, the humans ran straight into the most dangerous areas. Maria found a group of plant-based athletes wilting in suddenly freezing temperatures. Without a second thought, she picked up 2 of them, one under each arm, and carried them to safety. The aliens were lighter than they looked in the low gravity. "The cold's nothing," she told them as she ran. "This is like winter in Minnesota." On the other side of the arena, Tom and his group discovered dozens of crystalline beings starting to crack in the rising heat. The humans formed a chain, passing the aliens from person to person, getting them to their environmental chambers before they could shatter. "Just like a fire rescue," Tom said, wiping sweat from his face. "Keep moving." The most dramatic moment came when Jack, another human athlete, discovered that the emergency doors were stuck. Without protective gear or tools, he simply grabbed the doors and forced them open with his bare hands, metal groaning under the strain. "Must be the adrenaline," he explained to the shocked aliens he was rescuing. In their private booth, the Mindwood Collective watched in horror as their sabotage plan backfired completely. Instead of humiliating the humans, they had given them a chance to demonstrate even more incredible abilities. Ambassador Blue recorded everything, his color shifting to deep gold with amazement. The humans weren't just surviving in the failing environmental systems, they were thriving. They ran through toxic atmospheres, handled extreme temperature swings, and carried other species to safety, while making jokes about it being good exercise. After 2 hours of chaos, the station's systems finally stabilized. The final count was astonishing. Despite the catastrophic failure, not a single life was lost. The humans had rescued over 300 aliens from certain death. In the aftermath, Maria sat in the human break room, drinking water, still terrifying the aliens, and filling out an incident report. "You saved my entire team," a plant-based athlete told her, their leaves trembling with emotion. "How can we repay you?" Maria looked surprised. "Repay us? We just did what any human would do." Though, she grinned, "I wouldn't mind another shot at that wrestling match. I was just getting warmed up." The alien observers who heard this exchanged worried looks. These humans had just performed impossible feats of strength and endurance, faced conditions that would kill most species, and saved hundreds of lives. And they thought of it as a warm-up. The Galactic Council called an emergency session. It was clear now that they had severely underestimated these beings from Earth. The question was, what were they going to do about it? The Great Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with excitement. Representatives from every spacefaring species had gathered for an emergency meeting. The events at the Games had changed everything they thought they knew about life in the galaxy. Ambassador Blue stood at the center of the hall, presenting his findings about humans. Behind him, giant screens showed footage from both the Games and the crisis. "We must understand something important," he said, his color shifting to deep blue for emphasis. "Earth is not a death world because it's hostile to life. Earth is a death world because it created the strongest life we've ever seen." The screens showed clips of humans performing their rescues during the crisis. The council members watched in silence as Maria carried aliens twice her size through toxic atmospheres, and Tom broke through sealed doors to save trapped competitors. "Look at their planet," Ambassador Blue continued, showing images of Earth. "Their world has crushing gravity, extreme temperature changes, and powerful storms. But these conditions didn't kill them. They made humans stronger." A scientist from a low-gravity world raised her tentacle. "But how do they survive the constant damage to their bodies?" Tom Walker stepped forward to answer. The aliens tensed, still not used to seeing a human walk around without protective gear. "We don't just survive damage," he explained. "We get stronger from it. Break our bones. They heal stronger. Tear our muscles. They grow back bigger. Our entire biology is built on adapting to challenges. The council chamber erupted in shocked whispers. The concept was alien to them. Literally, most species avoided damage at all costs. The idea of becoming stronger from injury seemed impossible. There's more, Ambassador Blue added. Humans don't just adapt physically. They adapt to any situation. During the crisis, they didn't panic. They made plans, worked together, and even joked about the danger. The screen showed more footage. Humans laughing while lifting incredible weights, running for hours without rest, and treating lethal environments like minor inconveniences. Lord Red of the Mindwood Collective stood up, his crystal form still showing stress cracks from recent events. We may have made a mistake in our judgment of humans. The admission clearly pained him. Our attempt to humiliate them only proved their worth. Maria Reed, sitting in the human section, smiled at his words. She was already planning new training programs. Several alien athletes had asked to learn human exercise techniques, despite their doctors' horrified objections. The question now, a council elder said, is what role should humans play in our galaxy? Ambassador Blue's color brightened. I have a suggestion. We've always struggled to protect weaker species from hostile environments. But humans thrive in conditions that would kill most of us. They're not just strong. They use their strength to help others. The implications hit the council like a gravity wave. Humans weren't just powerful. They were powerful and protective. While other species ran from danger, humans ran toward it to help others. We propose, Ambassador Blue announced, reclassifying humans as a guardian species. They would help protect and rescue others, explore dangerous worlds, and teach other species to become stronger. Tom and Maria exchanged proud looks. This was bigger than winning games. This was a chance to show the galaxy what humans did best, face challenges, and help others do the same. The council voted unanimously to approve the new classification. As the meeting ended, aliens crowded around the human delegation, asking questions about training, adaptation, and something humans called sports. Just wait until we teach them about hockey, Maria whispered to Tom, making several nearby aliens jump at the word they didn't yet understand. The galaxy was about to learn that Earth's harsh conditions hadn't created monsters. They had created protectors. 6 months after the Galactic Games, Earth had become the busiest planet in the galaxy. Spaceships from hundreds of worlds orbited above, waiting for their turn to land at the newly built Galactic Training Academy. Tom Walker stood at the Academy's main entrance, watching aliens of all shapes and sizes arrive for their first day of training. Each wore environmental suits modified by human engineers to be stronger and more flexible. Ready for another class? Maria Reed asked, walking up beside him. She had just finished teaching a group of crystalline beings how to handle high-gravity environments. Almost, Tom replied. Still waiting for our special guest. Right on time, Ambassador Blue's ship landed. But this time, he wasn't wearing his usual protective suit. Instead, he wore a lighter version, designed by humans to help him gradually adapt to stronger conditions. 1 hour in Earth gravity today, the ambassador announced proudly. His color sparkled with excitement. Last week, I could only manage 30 minutes. This was the biggest change humans had brought to the galaxy, the idea that beings could become stronger through careful training. Most species had always avoided anything difficult or dangerous. Now they were learning to adapt and grow. Inside the Academy's main hall, the walls showed videos of the famous crisis at the Games. New students watched in awe as humans performed their incredible rescues. But now, instead of being terrified, the aliens were inspired. The best part, Maria told a group of eager students, is that each of you has hidden strengths too. Humans didn't get strong by avoiding challenges. We got strong by facing them. The Academy had training rooms for every condition in the galaxy. One room simulated high gravity, another had extreme temperatures, and others had different atmospheric pressures. Aliens could safely practice handling tougher conditions while human trainers watched over them. Even the Mindwood Collective had changed. Lord Red himself had become one of the Academy's strongest supporters, though he still complained about unnecessarily energetic humans running everywhere. "We were wrong about humans," he admitted during a council meeting. "What we saw as primitive survival adaptations were actually sophisticated evolutionary advantages. Their entire biology is a masterpiece of adaptation." The humans took their new role as guardians seriously. They established rescue stations throughout the galaxy, ready to help any species in danger. Human scientists worked with alien doctors to understand how different species could safely become stronger. But perhaps the biggest surprise was how the word Deathworlder changed. Once an insult meaning primitive or dangerous, it now meant strong and reliable. Young aliens dreamed of training with Deathworlders and learning their secrets. "Did you ever think this would happen?" Tom asked Maria as they watched a group of aliens attempting their first push-ups. "Honestly, no," she laughed. "I thought we were just going to compete in some games. Instead, we're teaching the galaxy how to be stronger." Ambassador Blue, finishing his Earth gravity training session, joined them. "You've changed everything," he said. "Before humans, we thought the only way to handle challenges was to hide from them. You showed us there's another way." Outside the Academy, more ships arrived daily. Each carried beings eager to learn from the humans who had shocked the galaxy. Earth was no longer seen as a terrifying death world, but as a crucible that had forged the galaxy's greatest teachers. "So," Maria asked a new group of students, "who's ready to start training?" A forest of tentacles, appendages, and energy fields rose into the air. Around the galaxy, beings of all kinds were learning an important truth. Strength didn't come from avoiding challenges, but from facing them together. And somewhere on Earth, a human child looked up at the stars and smiled, knowing that what was once called a death world had become the galaxy's greatest school of life.